All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Hawk Vision Podcast. I am your host, Chuck Hawkins, here to help you shorten the learning curve on your way to greatness. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe across all of your social media platforms, especially here on YouTube. More importantly, share this podcast with other visionaries just like you. All right. Guys, listen, we're doing something big here, working to be the premier location to help you bridge the gap to your personal and professional success. And I can't thank you enough for all the DMs, comments, and messages. We absolutely cannot grow this show without you. All right, guys, listen. This week's guest operates in rarefied air, and I don't use that word often. There's a whole nother meaning behind that. But she is a business coach, a speaker with thousands of people following her across multiple social media sites. And one of the things that I enjoy the most about her is that if you watch her videos or listen to her Pimp Your Brilliance podcast, then you know that she is a leader that is not scared to tell you that if your business isn't making money, it's not a business. All right. Her formulas to create actual functional revenue strategies are second to none. And you can tell by the many customer reviews, someone that I've got tons of respect for. This week's visionary, man, Monique Malcolm. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, we talked on Twitter, and it kind of just put itself together on its own organically, and I'm excited to have you.
Hey, well, listen, I have a lot of things to say, so I'm ready.
So let's get the obligatory easy question out of the way. What got you into entrepreneurship and starting to run your own business?
You know, entrepreneurship is in my blood. I come from a family of truck drivers, which doesn't seem all that fancy on the surface. However, my grandfather started a trucking company when I was like little in
Okay.
the late 80s. And as immigrants, my dad's family is Jamaican, and he grew one of the largest minority-owned trucking companies in Orlando, Florida. Back in the 90s, it was a thing to see Malcolm and Sons excavating trucks driving down the road.
Nice.
Like that was like my little claim to fame as a child, being on like the school bus, and we see my grandfather's trucks on the road. And
Yeah.
my dad was very involved in his business for a number of years. And so I just always knew at some point I was going to do something in business, because why not? If I didn't end up doing business for myself, I was going to go into the family business.
Okay.
Uh, my grandfather ended up dissolving that company maybe a year or so before I graduated college. And I got out of college and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, y'all, because that was the plan for
Right. Right.
years. So I spent a little bit of time dabbling in insurance. I taught science in middle school for a little bit, but none of those things really felt like a good fit. They didn't highlight what I felt like were my best skills, my creativity, my ability to look at situations and find the easiest path, and just all of these different things that I thought I had to offer, but no
Okay.
company was asking me to do those things, and I didn't know what to do about that.
Yeah.
So the second year into my teaching, I was in the craft store with my husband, and they had this personal screen printing machine, and my husband said, "You should buy that." And I just thought, why? What am I going to do with it? And he was like, "You would
Like
make
the shirt
shirts."
kind.
Yeah, like to, make your own t-shirts. And so I just thought, like, I don't know what I would do with that. But he planted the seed, and I went back a few days later and I bought that screen printing machine and ended up starting my first business, which was a t-shirt line called Anti-Sparkle Apparel. And I ran that for a number of years. And that was the catalyst to becoming an entrepreneur.
I love it. I love it. So we fast forward, and everyone has their catchphrases on what they do. I think yours is the most clear and concise that I've ever heard, and I absolutely loved it. You help overwhelmed solopreneurs monetize their brilliance. I don't think enough people address that overwhelmed part, right? As solopreneurs, as entrepreneurs, how did you package that and create that phrase so well?
Because I saw myself in a lot of my clients. So when people would come to me, so many things would be out of whack. They would be selling things, but not enough. They didn't have any systems in place. They weren't using a project manager, just all of these things. Like they were just spinning all these plates at one time and feeling really stressed out because they couldn't make a way forward. And I saw that for myself because I used to be that person who wasn't sure what was happening and when it was happening. And I'm very, very organized and very streamlined. And so as I started to figure out more about how to use systems and automation and project management systems, I started feeling less overwhelmed and I started feeling more in control of my business. And so I just thought to myself, like, this is the thing. I
Yeah.
see and speak to overwhelmed solopreneurs all of the time.
Yeah. I think that's, I mean, if there was the perfect word for entrepreneurship, especially your early years, right? When we're talking, you've launched and you're filing for your LLC, if that applies, and you're trying to get your marketing campaign up and running and you're doing your own graphics, right? And all that. Like, I think that is the perfect word, is overwhelmed. And I can't emphasize how much it just, interviewing entrepreneurs, right? That's the word that everybody's scared to say, right? Is they're scared to admit that they're overwhelmed because they have to be on stage, right? When they're talking to everybody else or potential clients. So when I saw that, when we started going back and forth online, I was just like, ooh, this is perfect. I love, 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 love it. So I want to talk strategy, right? For the solopreneur. Most entrepreneurs don't know how to quiet the noise in their head, and even to that being overwhelmed part, so that they can create a strategy. How do you help your clients tackle that?
So, a couple of different ways. The first one is just really looking at what do you have in play right now? A lot of times when people come to me, I ask them, "What is your customer journey?" And they
Mm,
don't know. They don't have an idea. And then I ask them, "All right, you have a product, you have a lead magnet. What does your lead magnet do after people download it?" They don't have an answer for
right.
that. So it's very easy to see very quickly where the gaps are for
Mhm.
people, at least people that come to me, because I'm like, okay, well, you have a lead magnet, but you don't have a email sequence that sells anything to people, and you're collecting emails, but you never send emails to people.
Right.
So I try to get a really good sense of what they're saying, and like I said, like I'm really great at seeing a way forward for people and what
Okay.
they have going on. But then I just ask them, like, what is the best case scenario for you look like? Like, how do you want to feel? How do you
Mm,
want this thing to run?
yeah.
And we start from there, because sometimes my goal is not to help my clients build a business like mine. You probably don't want to have a business like mine.
Right.
Sometimes behind the scenes, it is overwhelming and it is crazy. It's
Yes.
organized, and as efficient as I try to make things be, it's not always that way. And
Right.
then people don't have the same goals that I do. I want to design nice products and send things to people. Some people don't want to be dealing with shipping. So I don't try to force the way that I run my business on other people. I don't want you to build a clone of my business. My goal is to help you build a business that feels good for you and that
Yeah.
works good for you and that is um, in alignment with your life. So I try to balance that with, what do you think you want and what do I hear you saying?
What do you think you want? I love that one. Help me a little bit more on the definition of a customer journey, because we hear that word a lot, and we're going to touch on catchphrases soon, but and jargon for the entrepreneur soon. But tell me a little bit more about customer journey for somebody that's starting a business, a boutique online, or a consulting firm, whatever. What is a customer journey?
So, high level customer journey is the path that a person who doesn't know you or your business or your brand takes to become aware of you, basically discover that you exist. They start to get into your sphere. So maybe they're reading your blog or they're reading your tweets or whatever. They end up on your email list. And basically the path they take to become a customer. And then if
Mm,
you've done a really great job, the end of that customer journey is helping people become advocates or like fans. They're the people who are going out and saying, you should listen to this podcast because it's amazing. And Chuck has amazing guests on it. Like, that's, you want people to get to that point with your business and your brand. So there's there's several steps that people have to take to get there. Normally, it's the discovery phase is where while we're all creating content. We want
Yeah,
people to discover our content and then come back to our website and take the next steps to get further and further down the journey. But it's just how people go from knowing that you exist to buying to becoming raving fans.
I love it. Thank you for that. Thank you for
Welcome.
that. So I have this is slightly off the subject, but I do have a question for you. What's going on with the house and the big ass snakes? Like, and and more importantly, why is this the opportunity where we sacrifice the husband to the snake gods? Like, what's going on?
Listen. So I don't like snakes. I don't like them. And I live in Florida, so we have a lot of poisonous snakes. I don't see too many poisonous snakes,
Right?
but I don't know what's been happening in the last 2 weeks where I keep well, my husband tells me the reason
Yes.
why I see all the snakes is because I'm the only person that's looking for them, which is partially true because when I go outside,
You law
I
of attraction,
am
some snakes.
I am looking to make sure I don't see any snakes.
Right.
They just seem to be, my husband and my son seem to be oblivious to the snakes. The snakes only want to come out when I'm out. So that's funny that you brought that up. But the sacrificing my husband to the snake god, I normally get up early and work out while my son is getting ready for school.
Yes.
And some of the days I'm working out in the gym because I'm lifting.
Yeah.
And on Monday morning, I did not beat my son. My son was like, I'm going to work out today. And he went out first.
Okay.
And he texted me, there's a snake in the garage. So when I came into my office to start getting ready, I didn't pick up the phone, which is weird because I would have checked that first. But he just
Right.
happened to walk by and he was like, did you get my text? And I was like, no. And so when I saw that, he had texted me that picture of that snake that was in the garage. And I just kept thinking, what if I would have went out there first? Like the house, we would have had to move.
Instantly, because I share your disdain for snakes, right? Like it's I like it, I like how other people can be comfortable with them. I get it, not my thing. But I saw that one picture and I was just like, yeah, no, whole house vacated. Like
Whole house.
I'd have signed the
The
paperwork over to the snake, we'd have been good.
You could have had it. The funny thing, well, it's not funny. It's a little bit sad. So again, remember, nobody in my house seems to see the snakes the way that I do all the time. However, my son was like, I don't know what I should do because it's in the garage. And I opened the garage door, it won't leave. So I was like, you gotta go wake up your dad because I don't know what to tell you. And I'm not going out there.
Right.
But when my husband came in from walking the dog the night before, when he closed the garage door, apparently the snake was coming into the garage. So the garage door got stopped on its tail. So it was
Mm,
stuck there. It couldn't move
it
because it
couldn't
was
leave.
pinned. It
It
couldn't leave. It
couldn't
was
leave. So
pinned.
it didn't know if it was invited or not, right?
It
Because it,
didn't.
oh man, yeah,
So I'm
see.
just like, of course you would close the garage on the snake and just go in the house and not even know.
I love it. I love it. So I had to get that one in because I was looking at that and I was just like, oh no, see, not my
It's
thing.
not my favorite thing. This is how I know summer is here in Florida, and I'm excited about that, but not about the potential to see more snakes.
I've been to Florida several times and I love so much about it. But hurricanes, alligators, snakes rule it out for me all the time. Like every time I get the idea of, babe, maybe we should move to Florida, those three things kick in and I'm like, yeah, never mind. Um, so question for you. As the oldest child, I'd imagine that you didn't get a chance to wonder about things like confidence and self-assurance. But when did you know that you were qualified to charge other people for your information, for the things that you knew how to do?
You know, I I was already charging people prior to this point,
Okay.
but there was an experience that I had that made me realize my power. I think it was the moment when I realized I stepped into my power and that people would listen to me and I had impact.
Yeah.
And it's like one part like, ooh, that happened, but like also tragic at the same time.
Okay.
So a few years ago, my brother passed away in a motorcycle accident.
Oh no.
Um, my
Sorry to hear
my
that.
first siblings, my brother Maurice, he passed away in a motorcycle accident, and it happened really close to our house and like where a lot of family lived.
Wow.
So we went down there to the scene of the accident. You know, everybody's like falling apart. His whole motorcycle crew is like gathering, basically a crowd of people, family and friends. It's all gathering.
Sure.
And we were there, and the state trooper, I was like, "Don't talk to my mom. Talk to me because she's losing it."
Right.
And he told me, he was like, "We are going to move your brother, but we want your family to leave. We don't want them to stay for this."
Mm.
And so he was like, "So we need people to go." So I told him, "You know what? Don't worry about it. Give me a few minutes. I got it." So I went back and I addressed the crowd. And mind you, at the time that this happened, I had been out at like this martini bar with friends. So I had on like this cocktail dress and I had on heels. I had taken the shoes off because why am I going to
Right.
be in these heels there? So I'm like barefoot in this dress and like not appropriate for what is happening.
Sure.
But I went back and I told everybody, I was like, I need all of you to leave. I need family. You're going to go to this point, and I need friends. You need to leave. Motorcycle crew, I know how to get in contact with you. Everybody, please go. And I'm putting people in cars and like clearing it out. And the trooper came back and he was like, "Thank you. Thank you for doing that." He was like, "It would have taken us so much more time to get all of these people to go because they were already kind of having an issue keeping like the perimeter because everybody, emotions were high."
Absolutely.
And talking to my grandmother about that night after the fact, she was like, "I never realized how powerful and strong you are," because she was like, "You just sat there and you just said, you know what, don't worry about it." And you, like, everybody perked up and everybody listened and everybody did all the things that you told them to do.
Right.
And so it's something I think about a lot, because that at that moment I realized how much people actually listened to what I had to say and how much of an impact I have and like influence on people. And it's like I said, it's a weird thing to realize, but I think that was the moment where I just felt like, all right, we got things to do and like I'm gonna handle it.
Yeah.
So that for me is it.
Kind of that seminal moment. I think that speaks to how you were able to identify that overwhelmed part, right? Because if you're able to stay calm under pressure, under a situation like that, where there's nothing but chaos and emotions around you, then it speaks to being able to help others kind of see the target through all of the fog, right? I think that's the hardest part most entrepreneurs face is that there's, they look at their calendar and there's 37 things to do, plus the 5 that you didn't write down, let alone if you're a mom or, a wife and a husband or whatever the case is. And so everything kind of seems to fall into place and on top of if you're balancing a 9 to 5 on the back end. So yeah, I see why you say hard story, but definitely a seminal moment.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's interesting because I always tell people like if the world is coming to an end, I'm the person you want with you. Because
yeah,
while everyone else is panicking and like having a fit, that's the moment where I'm just like, okay, what can we do right now? How can we make this work right now? And I just instantly like go there. Whereas other people are like, "Oh my God, I don't know what to do."
right,
And
right.
I'm just like, chill out. Let me think about it for a second. All right, here's what we're gonna do. So I don't know. I think
So
that is
I
a
think you're the Black Captain Marvel. I think that's what it is. I think you're an Avenger and you just didn't know it.
I mean, I could be. I very well could be.
I like it. I like it. So we touched on this earlier, but I know, every industry and sub industry has their own language, their own jargon. I am absolutely burnt out. You see me, people? I am burnt out with words like framework, leverage, scale, and I know that they're all needed. I totally get it. Um, but do we complicate our offerings? Like, do we miss an audience when we complicate our offerings? Like, I am not the best structural person. So when I hear words like framework, to me, it sounds like more work. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Help me out with jargon.
So that's the thing that I'm really big on, which I'm glad that you brought me back in the beginning and asked me about customer journey. Because on my own podcast, I'm very conscious about making sure I define things properly for people and don't just
Yes.
assume that they know the lingo because some of it we don't. And even now, like I read a lot of marketing things and I'm just like, what are you even talking about? You're just talking in circles. You could have made this
Yes.
simpler. So I do believe that we complicate our offerings by using too much jargon and assuming that everyone knows what a framework is, that
Yeah.
everyone knows what scale means. I know to a certain degree, some of that language is used to repel people who may be too early in the journey to even
Yes.
understand that language. But I still see a lot of people using words like scale, and they're talking to early stage business owners. And I just
Right.
think if you're in the beginning of your business, you're not thinking about scale. You shouldn't even be thinking about scale. Like you need to be figuring out a lot of other things. Scale is what you do after it's rocking and rolling. You're sure what your offer is,
Yes.
you're getting steady clients,
You're
and now you,
profitable.
yes, you're profitable. And now you need to start thinking beyond it just being you doing all the things. That's when you start thinking about scale. But a lot of people come in and they want to scale like on day one. And you don't
ASAP.
scale on day
Yeah.
one. That's impossible.
Right.
So I do think we do people a disservice by using jargon and using those big words when you could just say something easier, like instead of just using scale, maybe it's more wordy to say instead of using scale, you are going to expand your team and move more into a role as a CEO, but
Yeah.
that gives people better context and better understanding of what you're saying versus saying it's time to scale your business.
Yeah.
That what
Yeah.
does that mean?
It reminds me of you remember when Ti started having that vocabulary, right? And everybody started teasing Ti about the proliferation of the expedience of the, like, okay, we gonna grow the business. Like if you're
Expeditiously.
expeditiously, shout out to that podcast because he's great. But I think that, I think we have to, like you said, we're repelling a certain audience, but for some people, scale is just automating your posts, right? For some people, it's just getting things automated so that you know what you're doing the next day. For other people, scale is, we're not talking about that till we've crossed six figures in revenue,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think that we do a disservice by not addressing which audience we're talking to when we use these words at free will just to make ourselves feel better, about about uh about our offerings. So maybe this is the West Coast in me, but I prefer the Too Short approach to entrepreneurship, right? Too Short will never be known for being a lyricist. Right? But if you get the content out there and you're good at what you're doing, you'll be a legend one way or the other, right? So you got to be able to figure that out. Um, Question for you: If Monique Malcolm is sitting in the room with 5,000 women, 5,000 entrepreneurs, what's the thing you want them to take away from being in the room with you?
Mm. I'm going to tell them whatever it is that like lays on their heart that they feel like they should be doing, they feel like they should be putting out into the world. They have a duty to do that. Because if the universe gave you an idea, you got a skill, you got a specific experience that can help someone else, you have to do that. You are the perfectly right person to do that. And it wouldn't have been given to you if you weren't capable of bringing that thing to life.
Mm, I like it. I like it. Now, as a man, I'm not sure it's my place to ask this, but there's a perceived stigma around running a business as a wife or mom, which we talked about a little bit earlier, and this lack of balance. Is it as hard as we make it out to be, or was it as hard? Like, what were your cheat codes to create that balance as a wife and a mom?
I had to learn boundaries, and it took a long time to learn them. I was not, in the earlier years, I was not great about saying, nope, the time that I get, like I had for today to work, that
Yeah.
time has passed, it's done. Now I have to go do things with my family. It would
Yes.
be more like that time has come. I did whatever I needed to do, cook dinner, did whatever, and now I'm back working. And
Yeah.
I would just work and work and work. But the crazy thing is, I didn't feel like I was getting that much more done, and I was still overwhelmed. So, learning boundaries and realizing that I cannot work all of the time, all of my waking hours cannot and should not be working.
Yeah.
has really, really helped. And that was like a really good starting point to trying to understand how do I work and what works best for me and what works best for my family. That it, like I said, it took a long time to learn that. And I have some regrets because I feel like my son in his younger years, like, you just work all the time. And he even said it to me once.
Yeah.
And you don't want your kid to say that. That does not feel good.
At all. At
No,
all. Yeah.
not at all. He's older now, so it's easier, but still, school is about to be out in a few weeks, and I'm already thinking like I'm going to take some time off from some of the content I'm producing to
Yeah.
spend time with him and to rest, because we don't give enough thought to rest and how rest can be productive and how rest can give you enough, refresh you enough to come back even better.
Yes. Yeah, totally agree. I've already told the wife today I have a couple of things to do, a couple of episodes to record and things like that. But I already told her tonight is movie night. I refuse to move from the bed. Like I don't know. I think your body sometimes in our world, right? The only indicator we typically have is either our brains are super foggy or our body tells us to shut down, right? If
Mm-hmm.
we don't prioritize rest. And the worst feeling ever is when your body tells you to shut down, to me.
Oh, I've lived that life. And when your body has to tell you to do it, it's a lot more dramatic than if you would have just done it yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Over the last couple of years, digital products are like the new cocaine in the streets, right? The entrepreneur streets. I'm sure that's a horrible example. But my question is, what do you think is next, right, after digital products? Because of course we're opening back up, after the pandemic and all that thing. And so people have learned the digital product side of um, monetizing. But
Mm-hmm.
what do you think is next?
I don't know. So I think about this quite a bit. Right now, with digital products, we are in the space of tiny digital products. So people are selling like those 27, 37, $47
Yes.
really specific things. You see the Facebook ads for them all the time.
Absolutely.
Um, I think I'm starting to see pick up steam with the Notion platform, people teaching people how to basically sell their Notion dashboards, which I
Hmm.
feel like is another extension of that tiny digital product, but it's more specific to that one platform. But if I'm thinking across the board from different brands and stuff that I know, I'm starting to see a lot of people whose businesses have done well. They're starting to branch over into the physical product space. So I'm seeing coaches offer physical journals, workbooks,
Yes.
affirmation cards, merch, and things like that. So I think that you're going to see a lot more people who were coaches and really strong in just the information product space
Yes.
start to have physical goods.
I think that's funny because I remember back in the day, I'm of a certain age, right? We ain't gonna go, that's not important. But I remember when we used to start with physical products, right? We used to say, hey, this is my shirt, like to your earlier, ventures. This is my shirt, wear my shirt. This is the hottest shirt out right now. And we would start with physical products without a brand to even
Mm-hmm.
be strong enough to be recognized. So I think the sales process was so much harder. That's interesting that it kind of circular that it goes back. Is that how do I say that word? I always struggle with that.
Circular.
So, yeah, that it comes back around, and we go to back to physical products. Um, I am an avid fan of personal growth, as you know, and just made a sickening, sizable investment towards a particular program. What does Monique Malcolm do to invest in herself, in her vision, and her business?
So if I'm a big fan of just in time learning. So I try
Hmm.
not to get too in the weeds with I need this, I need this, I need this,
Okay.
because um, the dirty secret of online courses is that like 80 something percent of people don't finish them. And I don't want to be that person that spends all this money on an online program and then doesn't use it. So I try to restrict myself to just what I feel like I need to know right now, or what's going to help me move towards like whatever my next step is. So when I do have those times, I do invest in online courses. I took a really good one on the business of wholesale earlier this year, which was great and will help in my physical products business
Yeah.
later on this year. Um, from time to time, I have dabbled with coaches or like one-on-one things.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that I do continuously, like almost every day, I read and research a ton, like a lot, a lot, a lot,
A
maybe too much.
lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Emphasis on I might read too much. Um, I like that. I like that. So let me ask you this in terms of, it's funny that you mentioned that because I just had a conversation with somebody that said, he's a little pessimistic, but totally understands big picture. And he's like, the new hustle is hustle, again, being an operative word. He's like, the new hustle is showcasing a lifestyle, selling your product so that people can believe that with this product, you can live this lifestyle too online, right? And so it takes me back to that saying, the hustle is sold separately. And I would always argue the hustle is absolutely not sold separately because you cannot, I mean, the hustle is absolutely sold separately because you cannot sell the work ethic, the belief, and the vision. So if 80% of people aren't finishing the product, is it just hope that we're buying? Like what's happening to where, we buy the product, we believe in the product, but we don't finish? What's that part?
I have a couple of theories about that. One, it is the hope. That's good marketing, right? That's why copywriters get paid buku dollars to
Yeah.
craft these sales pages and webinars and emails that have all of this aspirational language. And I mean, literally, there's a whole section on the sales page that is designed to instill hope in people. So you
Wow.
look at sales pages and you see that
Yeah.
section towards the top where it's like, imagine if,
Back
and
to the
then
jargon. Back to
that's
the
all of
jargon.
these little things that they put in there.
Yeah.
They're trying to get you to see yourself in this place because, and I literally just taught this in a workshop last night. People don't buy products, they buy transformations. And every purchase is rooted in the desire for transformation. So we are trying to buy better versions of ourselves. So no one actually wants an online course. You don't want another online course. I literally just told you most people don't finish them. You don't
Yes.
want more information. What you are looking for is the results of that course. You want the outcome, how it's going to improve your life or how it's going to improve your business. That is what you're looking for. That's what people are looking for. And that's what we're buying. So we are buying what our lives could look like if we did all of these things. And that's why they get you all hyped up in the launch and in the webinar to make you believe you can do it with this person at your side as your guide, telling you all the right steps. But the reality
Yes.
is, you still have to do the work. And that part is the hard part,
Yes.
which brings me to my theory that I feel like a lot of online courses are just too long. And it's really
Mm.
hard for people to get all the way through them. Because if you have a course that has 20 lessons, okay, that's fine. But how long are the videos in this lesson? Are they like
Right.
20, 30, 40-minute videos? Because that's a lot of content to consume. You have
Right.
to sit there for the 30 minutes and watch the video. Then you have to think about what they said and do like the activity, the exercise that goes with the video. And then
Yes.
you have to apply that to your business. Who has time to do all of that? If the video already was 30 minutes, and then it's going to take you however long it takes you to digest that, fill out your lesson, and then you still have to have time for implementation. It's just, it's a lot.
Listen, that's all the game we could have right there. That right there is just, I mean, we could end on that, but oh my God, I love it. We might have to do this again because we're gonna listen, it's rare that I get hyped up like this. You're about to see me start bouncing on the couch. Um, you recently worked on a project with my girl Marie Denis over at the Curvy Fashionista. She's a past visionary too. How important has collaboration been to you in your career and the success of your business?
It's everything. It's my secret. That's my greatest asset. I tell people all the time, people are my greatest assets.
Yeah.
Um, I think my creativity gets me in a lot of doors because people can see the potential of what I do, and I have a good track record of being able to execute things.
Yeah.
But people are my greatest assets. I always say I have an excellent support system, all the way down from like my husband, my family, my friends. Whenever I see those shady tweets about like support your friends the way you support celebrities you don't know,
Yes.
your friends post about their business, you don't share it, but you buy the latest Beyonce tickets. I cannot relate. My friends and my family are excellent. They're
Yes.
super supportive, and I know that I'm very fortunate for that because not everyone has that. But I try to make sure that behind the scenes, I am giving as much as I'm getting because I am very well supported. Behind the scenes, I'm in a lot of people's businesses that people don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody knew I was doing that. I've been working with Marie since like January on this project. Nobody knew that I was doing all of that stuff, because you don't got to flex everything on the internet. If you know,
Let's
you know.
go. Let's
Um,
go.
I don't need to tell everybody all the things that I can do, but
Yeah.
I can tell you that the work that I do, those people tell other people. And so there's not a shortage of inquiries for more work. There's just not a desire to do more work.
I love it. I tell people all the time, man, I don't care what social media creates. I don't care what the internet does. At the end of the day, you are still in the people business. And there's no app for people skills, you know?
And nope. And I tell people all the time, there is, I see it a lot on Twitter. I see it on Instagram too. I see it on social media, period. There is this thing that like once you start getting to a certain level in your business, enough recognition, people kind of get this better than you attitude persona. Like I can't be touched. I don't
Right.
have time to be answering your petty emails in my inbox. I'm going to send you an invoice for asking every question. And
Right.
I'm just like, some people that appeals to them and they're just like, she's a boss. That's great. But I'm just like, I don't know if I think she's a boss. I think she's kind of being a B word five and she
Uh-huh.
could be nicer. Um, so, so I try to
I
make
love it.
sure that I am able to support people in ways that don't leave me depleted. And
Yeah.
behind the scenes, I do a lot of things for people's businesses or answer questions or help or share resources because I think it's the right thing to do. And I know that that's going to come back to me in some other amazing way.
I absolutely love the way your brain works. I'm so glad that you were able to carve out some time to jump on this show. We got a couple of minutes left, and of course, we talked about podcasting over on Twitter, right? And if you had to package what you've learned from entrepreneurs, dream chasers, and even from producing your own podcast, the thought leaders that you've been around, what are the one or two things that you take with you when you are now producing content?
Always think with your ideal customer, client, person in mind. Lead with that when it comes to content creation and all of that, because it just makes everything so much easier when you start with like who this is for in the end.
Yeah.
I think is a really good play. But I think the lesson that I've drawn from talking to so many different people is you just have to have the courage to start. And you don't have to have the whole entire plan mapped out. You just need to know like where is the next step. And you just make those moves incrementally until you get further enough along.
Why do you think people get so caught up in the fear of launching, right? Like I think we talked about this right before we jumped on, but people anticipate the absolute worst, and that fear, like, help me unpack that, because I we all have it at some point, right? Some of us are able to move on in spite of or whatever it is, but in your experience, what is it about this fear that makes it so insurmountable to launch?
I think that, well, at our most basic sense, our fear responses is a safety mechanism. It is how our brain protects ourselves. Now,
Gotcha.
we are not born with a lot of the fears that we have. I think the only natural fears we have as babies, fear of falling, fear of loud noises. Like those are instilled into you as a human. The
Yes.
other fears are learned over time, but it is a defense mechanism. Something happens, opportunity is there, immediately your brain is like an overprotective mother. It's like, nope, 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 nope. We don't want you to be disappointed. I don't want you to be sad.
Yes.
I don't want you to feel all of these emotions that we don't feel equipped to handle at the moment.
Yeah.
So that fear gets in the way and it just stops you. Now I don't even have to worry about handling the emotions because I just put up that fear wall and you're not going to go past it. Boom, my job is done. Brain's job is done. But it's overstepping because a lot of the things that we fear are not physical dangers. And if you think about like the three core fears that most people have, especially when it comes to launching or being online, it's fear of uncertainty,
Yeah.
fear of failure, fear of inadequacy. We don't want to experience any of those fears because they're uncomfortable. But I think that it draws down to like this unconscious belief that we can't handle those emotions. So our brain is putting up that fear wall because it doesn't know what is going to happen if I let you experience this. Are you going to be sad and depressed? Are you going to, spiral out of control? But I
Yeah.
think that we give too much emphasis to all the bad stuff can happen. What about the best case scenario? What if you launched and you did everything that you said you were going to do and went amazingly well?
Right.
What does that look like? Why does our brain never get to that point where it blows that idea out of proportion and like makes you feel like you can fly?
Yeah.
That's the thing that I don't understand. And I even try to figure out like how can I get myself to think more in those terms? But it's just one of those things that you don't have to eliminate the fear. You just have to quiet it long enough to take the next step and take the next step. And I call the fear that you hear in your mind, all those excuses, all the things, I
Yeah.
call that the chorus of fear. The chorus of fear will sing to you, will sing all of your greatest hits.
Oh my
Can't do
God.
this. You tried this before and it didn't work out. Nobody's ever going to buy that from you. That's a stupid idea. Like the chorus of fear will take you there and sing all of the songs all night long if you
Yeah.
let it. But I always remind people to not let fear have all the fun.
What the chorus of fear has like a free concert. Like it's
Mhm.
not only do they have forever stamina, right? They sing forever, but it's a free concert.
It's a
Because
free
like nobody
concert.
wants it. It's just always there. It's just
Always.
always there. I remember I had a Charvette Mitchell on the show, and she said you don't have to be similar to what you just said. You don't have to be, 100% confident. Just 51%, right? And 51% gets you in motion. So I thought that was amazing. Getting close to wrapping up. Tell me, let's talk about Pimp Your Brilliance. Let's talk about the show. Let's talk about the brand. How did you come up with, again, amazing terminology? Everybody knows what a pimp is.
You know what? A friend, she doesn't even remember that she told me this, but I don't know if you know, but I made a plan. I have my own planner system, the Visionary Journal. I'm going to grab one. So, Visionary Journal. I designed
Yes.
this, made it myself. I was so proud. And when I was in the first production run of it, trying to get it all together and get it produced, I was just telling a friend about how overwhelmed I was with all the stuff. And I didn't know how it was going to work out. And she said, Mo, you have to pimp your brilliance. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And I wrote it on a sticky note and I stuck it on my computer. And I had always wanted to start a podcast. And I just thought, well, there we go. Like we're going to do this play on what is kind of looked at as a negative word,
Yeah.
but also we're going to take that and spin it and do it in an entrepreneurial way. So you can use your brilliant brain to build a business, a creative business, and your own skills, your own quirky passions, like whatever you want, you can monetize that. And so
Yeah.
that was the beginning of what is now Pimp Your Brilliance. It's been 4 years I've been doing this podcast.
Love
I
it.
still love it. I'm still obsessed with the name, and I'm still trying to get people to pimp their own brilliance.
Yeah. Yeah. I it never fails that I get this question from I'll say about 80% of my guests at the end of the show. right before we wrap up and hang up, they're like, Chuck, I might want to start my own podcast too. You're gonna have to give me some tips. And I'm like, man, listen, this ain't for everybody. Like it's more work than people, I think, than people understand. Like, of course, you can download Anchor and just start talking or whatever, but the post production part and the procuring of guests and all that stuff and what you're going to talk about. Do you think that as an industry, as a podcast industry, we know it's growing, we know it's taking off. Everybody and their mom has one now. Do you think that we will see something like an extended version of what happened with Clubhouse, right? Where everybody was like, oh my God, it's the next best thing. And then everybody's like, yeah, I'm tired of talking. Like, I don't want to. What do you think is going to happen with the industry?
No, I don't think we're gonna experience that same kind of hurrah and then womp, because podcasting has been going for a number of years and it's steadily increasing.
Yeah.
I think that access to it is becoming easier. Now we have so many different podcast players and different ways you can get access to podcasts that we didn't have before.
Yeah.
So I do believe that the medium is going to continue to grow. What I personally would like to see along with that is better stats, because it's really hard to figure out with a podcast where people are coming from,
Yes.
especially be the way that it's distributed. And I would like to see. I almost feel like it's not the easiest thing to share, because you need a podcast player and like there's so many steps that people have to get to actually subscribe,
Yeah.
that it's not the easiest medium to grow on. Whereas like, blog posts, you have links and that's there and people can just go. Podcasting, it's more work to get people to subscribe.
Yeah. And then plus you're interrupting people's day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like to gain viewership, you have to be able to capture attention and keep it for 30, 40 minutes, right? And so I think that's why I always have the utmost respect for my guests that not only make time to come on the show, but that have their own podcast. Cause it's like, this is not no easy game.
It is not. It's not. And I tell people all the time, like, you want to start a podcast. I tell people, if you start a podcast, start a seasonal podcast, a podcast that has distinct seasons so that you have time off. Because if you
Yeah.
just start a perpetual podcast like I do, at least twice a year, you're going to hate it and want to quit.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So getting close to wrapping up, I have a question for you. How does it feel to be referred to as a visionary?
I accept that because I think that that is the perfect descriptor of who I am. Whenever I've taken those personality tests and things, I
Yes.
always land on that. I literally right now have the screensaver is visionary, which was the result of this Adobe Creative Types quiz that I took a few weeks ago.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I got the visionary type, and I thought what it said was like spot on. So I screenshotted it and made it my background for my computer. So I resonate with that.
See, guys, I told you we don't have no amateurs on this show, right? This is for pure greatness only. Quick lightning round. I'm gonna give you a couple of words. You tell me what they mean to you. First word is education.
Always gonna learn.
Okay. Second word is growth.
Um, I think it's a continual process, and I still have a lot more of it to do.
Hunger.
Cotton candy.
Okay. It might be snack time. I got you. I have two more words for you, and then we'll be wrapping up. Belief.
Belief. Ooh, you got to make sure that your BS is in check. Your belief systems are everything.
See, when you said BS, I went somewhere else with it because that has to be in check too. Like you got to know who you are. Um, the last word would be failure.
Ooh, if you don't succeed, try again. Fail better, because every time you fail, you get more experience and you can do it better the next time.
Fail better. Give me a couple of minutes on that.
It's a quote. I have to give you the name. I can't think of it, but it's like ever try, ever fail, try again, fail better. So it's just this idea that failure is not the stopping point. It is experience and telling you what not to do so that next time you come back and you know better and that you can do more and get further next time. So failure is not the end. It's not where you stop. You keep going with information on how to improve.
What's next for Monique Malcolm, and where can everybody find you online?
So you can find me online at moniquemalcolm.com. If you're into Instagram, I'm Pimp Your Brilliance over there. If you're on Twitter, which is where I like to hang out, I'm Monique E.
Yes.
Malcolm on Twitter. And what's next? I am in the middle of overhauling this community that I've been working on way too long to teach people. It's been so long. Oh my goodness, it's crazy. But I call it the Dave and Buster's of courses, because I'm trying to take what I think is wrong with courses, that they're too wordy, they're too long, and they're boring, and make it fun. So you're going to get curriculum, and there's like prizes and badges, and you can earn prizes by doing the work that you should already be doing. But I'm trying to incentivize people and give them those hits of dopamine like you get on
Yes.
social media. So that's a big project. And then I would love to do a big overhaul as well on my planner this year. Like that's a fall project. So
Okay.
those are my two big things.
I absolutely love it. Well, the actions that get rewarded get repeated. So if you can tap that dopamine, it's going to be a no-brainer for people to work on that one. I love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have been rocking with the great one, Monique Malcolm, and yours truly, Chuck Hawkins, here at the Hawk Vision Podcast. I hope the interview was informative. I hope we added a smile to your day. But most importantly, we hope that we have helped you shorten the learning curve on your journey to success. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe across all your social media platforms. Keep sending in your messages. Keep sending in your suggestions. We cannot grow this show without you. And I am so appreciative that you've given us your time today. You know how it goes. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here to rock with us, and we appreciate you. There's absolutely no miracle that happens without somebody doing something, and we will either see you at the top or from the top. Monique Malcolm, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you again for having me.
Absolutely.